love to travel. And when I go someplace far away, I have to take an airplane to get to my destination. Have you ever been on an airplane? Thank goodness there are people who are trained to fly these big things flying in the sky. It takes a lot of training and practice for somebody to fly this form of transportation. Who gets to fly airplanes for their job? Find out what STEM career I am describing in this episode of the STEM Career Quest. Have you ever found yourself asking this question? What do I want to be when I grow up? Maybe you already have an answer to that. Maybe you don't. Both are okay. Welcome to the STEM Career Quest podcast, a show made for kids like you to help you build your dreams or even find new ones in science, technology, engineering, and math. Each week, hear captivating stories and interviews to explore the exciting world of STEM. Oh, and grown-ups and teachers, you can listen too. We'll talk to experts in STEM who are passionate about what they do in the real world and how they make a positive impact in their careers. Created and hosted by K-5 STEM coach Naomi Meredith, this show will spark your imagination and passions. Join us each week on our quest to explore the possibilities of careers in STEM, one episode at a time. The STEM career that we're going to be hearing about today is what it is like being an airline pilot in training. Airline pilots are certified and trained to navigate and control airplanes. To tell us more about it, we will be hearing from our special guest, Miruna Camelia Iordan. Miruna has a background of being an aerospace engineer, which, funny enough, we heard from a different aerospace engineer back in episode 6. Miruna loves all things flying and aviation, and she turned this passion into exploring the world of being a pilot. She is currently in training to become an official airline pilot, and it is so fun to hear where she is at in her journey to live out her dream. She is chatting with us all the way from Lithuania, which is in Europe. I live in Colorado in the United States, so she is really far away from me, and it is so cool to be able to hear her story. Thank goodness for the use of technology so we can chat together. So excited for you to get to know her and her STEM career. Now, get ready for today's episode quest, my little questies. As you listen, find out the answers to these questions. You do have to be a careful listener, and the questions do go in order, but I will be revealing the answers at the end. Question number 1. What was something that made Miruna nervous as a kid? Question number 2. True or false? Miruna will have the chance to practice flying an airplane with a flight simulator. And question number 3. What scary situation did Miruna happen one time? Be a careful listener. Now let's embark on our STEM career quest. All right, what is your STEM career and how would you describe what you do?
Well, I'm an aerospace engineering graduate, and currently I'm training to become a commercial pilot. So what I'm doing right now, well, basically I learn how to fly, how to control aircraft, and in the future I will fly airplanes from point A to point B. So basically to different places on Earth.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really scary. Do you ever get afraid being up in the sky?
Well, that's why I actually started flying. It was because I was afraid. Whenever I would go on holidays with my parents, I would be always very scared about all those noises and all those movements of the airplane. So that's how I decided that I want to learn learn more about it. I started watching videos on YouTube. How do airplanes fly? How do pilots control the aircraft? And that's how I got here, actually.
Oh my gosh, I love how you are facing your fears. That is so good for all of you out there. If you are scared of something, why not learn more about it like our friend here?
For sure, yes.
Aside from flying the airplanes, because that sounds pretty awesome, what is the coolest part about your job that you cannot believe that you get to do?
Mm, well, first of all, flying the aircraft itself, it's a big challenge. In the beginning, it was very challenging because yeah, there were so many buttons you had to press, and so yeah, it was challenging, difficult in the beginning, and even now it's can still it still challenges me sometimes. But now, as I got more and more used to it, uh, yeah, I'm not as afraid and not as scared and not as overwhelmed as I was before. Also, you get to see a lot of cool places to travel to, new destinations, new countries that you've never been to. So that's what I also like a lot about it.
You have all of those buttons, and I've seen a control room. And if you've never seen an airplane control room, it's not what you would expect. There's a lot going on. How do you keep track of all of the buttons and knowing what things to pull? Do you have to practice a lot for your job? How do you, that would be really overwhelming to me if I saw that.
Yeah, at the beginning it is very, very overwhelming. So that's why the instructors are basically our flying teachers. They're taking us step by step. They giving us like in the beginning they are not overwhelming us with too much information. So they're just saying, okay, now you do this, you mastered this skill, now you go to the next one. So it's all about division of attention, how you distribute your attention. You do this thing for 5 minutes and then, okay, you do another thing. So it's just learning to manage yourself, basically. Also, of course, knowing a lot about the airplanes, you always have to be curious. You have to want to learn and to ask questions, and also read a lot, because you have to read all the aircraft manuals. So it's yeah, it can be tough at times.
That's good to remember. I bet a lot of kids out there don't realize that reading is important, even in STEM careers. So keep reading, everybody.
It's very, very important. Also, for a career in aviation, for a career as a pilot, math, physics, chemistry skills are very, very important. So it's, I would say it's very important to focus on these subjects for the future.
Do they ever have you practice in an airplane that's virtual reality? Is that ever something they have you do, or do you always practice in real airplanes?
I practice in real airplanes for now, but from what I know, next year we'll be learning in a flight simulator. So it's basically you have the cockpit of an aircraft, and then you have a simulated, let's say, horizon. So it's like you are flying, but you are flying on the ground. You're playing a video game. And the coolest part is that you can do it with a friend so let's say for me, with a friend from my university. We're learning to fly together. So we're learning to work with each other and to cooperate. And we basically we coordinate our work, who presses which buttons and who does what, basically.
Ooh, so having a job and being able to work with others is super important, because you're definitely not flying this airplane all alone, are you?
No, 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 no. That's the I would say it's a very important thing, learning how to work with another person. Sometimes even maybe not with someone you like. You have to learn to work with different kinds of people, and you have to get along with different kinds of people, to emphasize with them, to know what to expect of them, how they react to like stress, fatigue, to being tired, and yeah, basically like that.
So remember, kids, if you are put in a group with somebody who's not your BFF forever, you have to learn how to work with those people, and maybe you do become BFFs. You never know.
You never know. Yeah, like some situations can get the best out of people, and then you see a different side of them, of different side of their personality. So maybe something you haven't seen in them before.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they might say the same about you. You never know. So speaking of working with others, do you have a really cool project that you worked on in your career, or something shocking or funny that has happened to you? Because not every day is perfect. So there must have been some times that definitely you will never forget.
Oh yeah, I could tell about something shocking that happened to me. So I once had to do an emergency landing. Well, it was because yeah, it was even now when I remember about it, I get a bit scared. But yeah, it was during the takeoff. Some things have gone wrong, and I had to land not in the airfield in the airport where I was used to landing, but I had to land just in a random field close to the airport. So it got a bit scary. It was full of adrenaline and emotions. But yeah, I'm just happy that I managed to do it, that I managed to, let's say, control myself in this difficult situation, and I got out of it safe. The plane wasn't, let's say, destroyed. Everyone was happy. So yeah, but it was a bit scary.
3 things about airplanes you may or may not already know. Aerodynamics is the way that air moves around things. Airplanes are designed in a special way that helps them fly. They are always working against the forces of weight, lift, thrust, and drag to help them stay up in the air. The first successful airplane flight was about 12 seconds. Not very long. Try counting to 12 seconds. You'll see what I'm talking about. This was in 1903 by brothers Orville and Wilbur Wright. Their airplane looks a lot different than what we are used to seeing in the skies today. Airplanes aren't just used for traveling to new places. They can also help with transporting goods, farming, and even different purposes in the military. Did you know these 3 things about airplanes? Pretty cool, huh? Loving the STEM Career Quest podcast and want more? Join the STEM Career Quest Club. Perfect for teachers, homeschool parents, or families looking to add more educational opportunities during school breaks. Inside, you get access to a private community of other STEM Career Quest listeners, comprehension guides for each episode, teaching slides for each episode where it is broken up into chunks so you can listen in smaller segments, related STEM activities you can complete with simple materials, 1 monthly virtual STEM field trip, and more. Join the club at stemcareerquestpodcast.com/club. That would be scary. And they've let you fly the plane ever since?
Yeah, because basically nothing happened with the airplane. Everything went fine. But yeah, after that I had to do a few flights with the instructor, just not because something was wrong with me, but just because when I got back to flying after this event, I would be very stressed. So because I would remember what about that situation, about that scary situation, so I just had to fly with the instructor to calm myself down and to basically to see that everything is fine. That yeah. That I shouldn't worry so much.
I'm so glad that you didn't let that experience stop you and that you didn't say to yourself, I'm done flying airplanes. This is never happening again. But you grew from your, I guess, a mistake, but not so much a mistake, but an experience that was scary and didn't go the way that it was planned. And thankfully, you have people to help support you and guide you, because that's how it goes in jobs and in life, where things don't always go as planned, but you keep working at it and you keep training to keep going on and doing a great job.
Yes, it's very important to, let's say, to not give up, even when things don't go as planned, when you have a bad day, when the, yeah, just important to move along and be persistent. Yeah, don't give up, basically.
Yeah. That's perfect. So thinking about where you're at now, and you weren't born a pilot, you weren't born an aerospace engineer. What experiences in your life led you to this career? How did you get to where you are now?
I think, it was the fear that I had whenever I was flying. I wanted to know more about airplanes, about how they are controlled by the pilots, how do they fly, why don't they crash, and I started to learn more and more about it. I started to watch YouTube videos, and then after university I went to pursue a degree in aerospace engineering. And after I finished the engineering degree, I realized that I want to be up in the air. I want to fly, and that's where I am now. It's I think it all came from fear, I guess, and from wanting to overcome my fear, my fears, and to being curious also.
Did you ever fly on airplanes as a kid, or were you too scared to even get on the airplane?
Oh no, I was flying. I think my first flight as a passenger was when I was 6. Back then I wasn't very scared, actually, because it was a new experience. But as I was flying more and more, I was always very alert, trying to paying attention to all those weird sounds that the airplane was making, or all those, let's say, movements, the turbulence of the air. And yeah, I got more and more scared. But now, like currently, when I'm flying as a passenger, I feel no fear at all. Oh, because I know how it is, what is happening, what are the behind the scenes, what the pilots are doing. So let's say I'm more relaxed because I know almost everything.
I love that. I'm terrified of mice, so maybe I should become a mouse expert and then I won't be so scared of them anymore.
Maybe, who knows? Who knows? I'm also scared of mice. I also don't like mice.
Yeah, they're gross.
Yeah.
All right, for any kid who is interested in getting into aerospace engineering and maybe becoming a pilot, or maybe both like you did, what advice do you have for kids who want to do similar in their career when they grow up?
Well, usually in getting into aviation, if you want to, let's say, work as a pilot or as an engineer, you have to be prepared to learn all your life. So you finish university, even after university, you'll still be learning at your job. And that's why you must, let's say You have to be curious. You have to want to know more, ask questions, get out there and start exploring. So that would be one thing. Then another thing for pilots, it's very important to be physically fit, to be healthy. So I would say eat your veggies, eat fruits, drink water, exercise, go outside, play games. Also, it's very important. Yeah, you have to know how to work with other people. So it's nice. It would be very good to be social, to make new friends, to talk to a lot of people, even with the, let's say, people at your school that are not your, let's say, best friend, or maybe you do not get along very well in the beginning. Just keep talking, maybe try to find some common ground. Yeah, just don't exclude anyone and be nice and friendly to everyone. And that's what I would say is the most important.
I love that advice so much. And I think that's important for all of us to remember, whether you get into this career or not, that these are life skills that you definitely need to know. Well, thank you so much for being here today and inspiring us here on the STEM Career Quest.
Thank you for having me, and good luck to everyone out there with whatever STEM career you choose to pursue.
Have you been listening carefully to today's episode? We are now going to reveal the answers to today's episode quest. Let's see how you did. Question number 1 was, what was something that made Miruna nervous as a kid? Well, funny enough, flying in airplanes. But this fear ended up turning into a passion of hers, which led her into her journey as being an aerospace engineer and also now learning to be a pilot. Question number 2, true or false? Miruna will have the chance to practice flying an airplane with a flight simulator. True. She has mostly practiced flying on real airplanes, but pretty soon she will also get the chance to practice by using a flight simulator. It's a little bit like a video game, but way more complicated and not exactly like the real thing, but pretty close. And question number 3, what scary situation did Miruna happen one time? When she was in one of her flights, they had to do an emergency landing. Everyone and everything was okay, but it was a little bit scary at the time, but a great learning experience. How did you do on all the questions? Need help following along? I invite you to join the STEM Career Quest Club, where there are special comprehension guides that go with every single episode of the STEM Career Quest podcast, along with fun STEM activities that go with each episode and more. Make sure to check out the link in the show notes to join and be an ultimate Questie. Loving the STEM Career Quest podcast? Want to be featured on the show? Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and tell us what you love about it. Maybe you'll be featured on our next episode. What is something new that you learned today about being an airline pilot? Is this the type of STEM career that you might want to try someday? Even if it isn't, it is still amazing to learn about all of these different STEM careers and explore the possibilities. Excited for you to continue your journey in the next episode of the STEM Career Quest. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the STEM Career Quest podcast. Grab your free episode badge, connect with today's guests, follow us on social media, join the club, and more. Find it all on our website at STEMCareerQuestPodcast.com.